So let's get into these promotions. We'll start on the Pirates side, stay close to home for you and guys that, one that you're going to see and one that, we mentioned a couple weeks ago, like maybe you might see him probably a long shot. Hey, you might see him. Anthony Solomito, you might see, but someone you will definitely see is Jared Jones. Jared Jones, he doesn't get the fanfare because, I don't think he puts up the super gaudy numbers that, turn your head. But Jones has to be one of the more underrated pitching prospects in the game, I think, right now. There's other guys that are a little flashier, higher upside that I would say are, more underrated. But Jones is 21 years old. He turns 21 in 2 months. He has a fastball that sits in the upper 90s, a plus slider, and, kind of lacks that trustworthy third pitch. The changeup's not good, and he has a curveball that he's trying to find. But when you've got a mid to upper 90s fastball and a wipeout slider, and you're 21 reaching AAA, I mean, this guy should be mentioned more than like never. Because unless we're just not catching it, I feel like he does not get much discussion.
Do you know what this is? Like, this is scratch your eyes and make sure you don't see Luis Ortiz from a year ago. This is exactly what's going on here. Upper 90s heater, really good slider. Can probably get up and get outs. You're a little worried about, confidence within the zone, which is the same exact thing that Ortiz went through last year and so far this year. But like, this guy is cut from a very similar cloth. And I think they appreciated what they saw in Luis Ortiz last year, who was more so a breakout. Like, this guy was a second round pick out of high school.
Yeah.
Ortiz was not even like a top 30 guy by any publication at the midway point of last year. And then all of a sudden, now he's like a top 5 prospect in the Pirate system before he graduated. Jones has a bit more prospect intrigue, but he's breaking out in a similar way to Luis Ortiz, where he's not striking out 12 guys per 9, but he's using those 2 pitches, and he's got a really fucking low ERA, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, you look at the outings, I mean, just consistent as consistent could be. I believe it's pretty much almost every single outing this year, it's been 1 earned run or less, except for one where he threw against Bowie, which is just Bowie just rakes. I mean, every Orioles affiliate rakes. But you look at every single start this year, it's 1 earned run or less, besides the first one of the year against New Hampshire and one in mid-May against Bowie. Yeah. So, that's just really impressive to me. It's basically been 4 or 5 innings. And then the last couple were 6 innings back-to-back of 1 earned run or less. The free passes are something to watch. There was a stretch of outings where it was no free passes. Recently, it's been like 3, 2, 1, 3 in that order, respectively. But I think that's been partly trying to mix in the changeup a bit more, trying to find that. It's a firm pitch at 90. If he can get the changeup to even just be fringy, I like him as a back end of the rotation starter. That when he's on, fastball slider will dominate you. But, I think that there needs to be a little bit more than just those 2 pitches, because the fastball is really good. It's not elite enough. Like Luis Ortiz at least had the 4-seamer and the sinker. So he could give you 2 different things. Jared Jones is a 4-seamer. It's a good 4-seamer, but just a good 4-seamer and a great slider. Going to need a little bit more than that, but still a really solid pitching prospect.
And ball is in the air a lot. I think it's a 2-to-1 ratio of fly balls to ground balls for him. Like, that is a teensy bit concerning, I guess.
He was doing it in Altoona, right? Where it's pretty hitter friendly.
It is pretty hitter friendly in Altoona.
So that's good news.
201. Yeah. My worry is when he sees more advanced hitters, what's it going to look like? And I think we're going to get a good glimpse of that early in Triple.
Oh, and that's the beautiful thing. If he struggles in AAA, that's fine. He could struggle the rest of the year. Goes into next year, has all of the recipe of like, okay, this is what I needed to work on. This is where I got beat, and go from there. So he's in a great spot for himself and for the Pirates. And who knows, he could get himself into the big league conversation for next year at some point.
Yep.
Solomito, it's been pretty awesome to watch. He just made his first AA start, and I thought it was pretty solid overall. He went 5 innings of 4-run ball, but only 2 were earned, 7 Ks, 1 walk. That was against Somerset, which is, a pretty good lineup.
Yeah.
6'3" lefty. We talked about him a bunch. We'll just kind of mention what the AA promotion means, because it was right before he got promoted. I think that this gives him an opportunity to I'd be surprised if he gets to triple. I think he'd have to really dominate, but finish this year with a good performance through AA. He'll finish the year still at 20 years old, and he'll start next year as a 21-year-old in AAA too. I think this has him on a really good timeline. And again, now the Pirates are in this situation now where early next year, a lot of their AAA arms are not only high upside, but could be options for the rotation within a couple months into the season. So, if Solomito has a great start to next year in AAA, presumably, that's another arm that can be added to the fold there. They've got some depth coming together here. I know the Pirates have been struggling of late. I think everyone's kind of expecting them to kind of fall off a cliff to a degree this year, finish right around 500 and have a strong finish, relatively speaking, exceed expectations. And then next year is like hey, let's flirt with a wild card spot. Having young pitching depth that's trekking towards a 24 debut is great news for the Pirates and their timeline.
It's so cool with their timeline. And that's why I think they need to go college with the first overall pick. Like, I think they have to go Cruz or Skeens. I would, love if they grab Dylan Cruz 1-1, but I think this timeline is perfect because you've got a 22-year-old Quinn Priester that is probably going to spend the entire year in triple, maybe get a big league cameo. Again, he's 22 years old. You've got a 21-year-old Jared Jones who's getting up to triple. You've got a 20-year-old Solomito who will debut in triple as a 21-year-old. Mike Burrows is 23. He'll come off TJ about the midway point of next year. And then you've got Hunter Barco coming off TJ at the beginning of next year as well. So they're going to have a lot of options for a young rotation. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Roansy is taking the step that I think they would hope he would, but they have a lot of backup plans coming through right now.
Yeah, and he's still young and has upside, and you're going to give him looks. But I agree, you have a lot of different options, and you have another guy that maybe hasn't made that leap quite this year, but still shows flashes. Bubba Chandler, big upside arm that is in the lower levels that you can work his way up as well. They've got options. And then Kyle Nicholas is a solid depth arm that the Pirates are building something nice here system wise. And, we've talked about Ben Cherington and the way he's handled that organization over the last couple of years. I like what they are doing, and they're definitely heading in the right direction. Let's head to Boston and talk about, I guess we should say Greensboro, or what is high A for the Red Sox?
The Greenville Drive.
Greenville. Greensboro's Pirates. So Roman Anthony is headed over to high A. And Anthony was a second-round pick, overslot guy out of powerhouse Stoneman Douglas High School. That's where you had Anthony Rizzo come out of. You had Jesus Luzardo come out of there. You've had some very good Colton Welker, some very good professional baseball players coming out of there with more recently drafted Kobe Mayo as well. Anthony's 19 years old. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. And we're seeing a lot more hype around him as he's started to fill out. He started to add more power, and the hit tool has continued to shine through. He's 19, just turned 19. So this is an aggressive assignment, and I think it is the right assignment. He, data-wise, has looked fantastic. The swing looks fantastic. The big thing for him has been hitting the ball in the air because he hits the ball hard already. 104.5 mile per hour, 90th percentile exit velocity for a 19-year-old is elite. Zone contact of 87%, elite, especially when you're hitting the ball as hard as he does. And a chase rate of just 18%. By all of the buckets at his age, that is just elite stuff. Ground ball rate was 50% if you look at the scope of the whole season. But then you zero in on the last 20 games. Ground ball rate is cut to 43%, 821 OPS, 17 walks, 20 strikeouts. The power hasn't quite been there in the, slug department, but you watch how hard he's hitting the ball. You watch him spraying line drives, and you look at the exit velocities. The power's there. This guy has the potential to be a big time prospect. And I think the hype is merited here with Roman Anthony. And I think that is backed up by the Red Sox promoting this kid to high A as a 19-year-old and a young 19-year-old. He just turned 19 again. I have to reiterate that.
You just gave me the EVs, you gave me the zone contact, and you gave me the chase rate, and I'm sold on this guy already. After those
How can
three
you
numbers,
check those buckets and not be good. That's
like
great.
No, I mean that's like the Venn diagram from heaven for a prospect. Like he doesn't chase, he makes contact with strikes, and he hits the ball hard. Like it's everything you want from a hitting prospect.
Yeah. The number one thing that was standing out to me is he struggles to keep that front side on against lefties, and lefties have given him some fits. And I think high A lefties will very much give him some fits.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, he's hitting righties really well. The body looks better overall. The swing looks really good. He's definitely made the adjustment with his lower half to lift the ball in the air more in his swing path. 6'3", 200. He's going to get stronger too. This is a possible top 100 guy in the update. He's a data darling, meaning because the 742 OPS, I don't think meets what you'd expect from the underlying data. But I'm expecting this guy to really keep rolling, even with the high A challenge.
And I will tell you, like, if there's one thing I guess I've learned, and I'm not going to entirely negate it, but with young lefty bats, if they struggle against lefties, I'm willing to give them time to figure it out. And Exhibit A is Nolan Gorman. Like Gorman, we were worried he was going to be a liability against left-handers. And now, like, Gorman is an everyday piece for the Cardinals moving forward because he was really young and he figured it out while mashing righties.
And I was very worried about that for sure. I mean, that was a guy that is really exceeded all of my expectations. And it's a good point, especially the high school guys, the talented guys that have that kind of impact. If they can not chase and pound mistakes, they don't have to be great hitters against lefties. You can be a 200 hitter against lefties, walk and hit homers, and you can be somebody that doesn't need to be protected in platoons. But even if so, he's going to be good enough against righties, can play all three outfield spots. If he can't hit lefties, to me, he's still a very relevant prospect. That's why I thought it was ridiculous when people were keeping Colton Cowser out of the top 100 due to his issues against lefties, who, by the way, is hitting lefties well now. But that's even not enough to keep them outside of the top 100 when they're that good in the other facets of their game.
Yeah.
Judd Fabian, recently promoted, talk about a guy who demolishes lefties. Yeah. And that might end up being his side of it, is being the left side of a platoon and just being a power guy. I think that's the fallback option. The exciting option for the Orioles prospect and second round pick is to be an everyday player who can play center field and hit for power. With Judd Fabian, we've always known this since he was at UF. You're going to be signing up for some whiff, but he hedges the whiff with good power, another really low chase rate. And I think it also hedges the volatility of the offensive profile when you have a guy that can play all three outfield spots and play a good center field. I would say with Fabian, it's tough because I'd like to see much better bat to ball skills from a college guy in high A. And I still am alarmed by the hit tool concerns. I think that there's a lot of people out there that are higher on him than I am. Yeah. But he's definitely off to a solid start to his professional career. I'd say a good start to his professional career. Has earned that promotion to Double-A. But I do think that the promotion to Double-A is going to be a challenge for him. And I'm very interested to see how he responds. There's a chance he responds well. But it's going to be a test on that fringy hit tool.
Yeah, so I'm probably one of those guys that's higher on him than you, and I don't have data access. So, if I did see data that was alarming, I would probably get a little bit lower. But I'm a huge fan of what Fabian offers because he's a high OBP guy that can play three outfield spots and hit tanks, which is very exciting. And by the way, he stole 19 bags.
Yeah, I was going to say the bags are interesting.
The bags have kind of come out of nowhere as well. Like he stole one bag in 22 games last year at his first taste of pro ball. So Fabian, if Fabian offers defensive versatility, pop off the bench, and the left side of a platoon, I feel really good about Fabian. I don't feel good about him being an all-star, but I feel really good about him being an impactful big leaguer.
And I mean, you don't draft a college guy in the second round to be an all-star. And I think Fabian came with a lot of expectations because he was once considered a top 10 pick. Then he was drafted in the second round by the Red Sox, doesn't sign, goes back to school, puts up great numbers, but doesn't really convince enough that he's not going to have the whiff concerns. So the whiff concerns kept him out of the first round. That's fine. That's, you're drafted in the first round to be an all-star. The whiff concerns, I think, made us realize, okay, maybe he might not be an all-star, but he could be a really solid, and we say platoon, but when you can play all three spots, you end up playing a lot more than your average platoon guy. And again, if this is somebody that you have to play every day, you're not worried about that. He might end up earning an everyday role as he continues to get better. It just may take some more time. And his first iteration of big league experience might be as a platoon guy, but beyond that, he could develop at 24, 25, 26 as he gets better in the big leagues into an everyday guy. Like that can happen too. And I think that's very possible as well. Back to the Gorman point, not as talented as Gorman, but very talented. Gorman in the beginning was protected. They could protect Fabian and then ease him in. And he could turn into that everyday above average player who plays good defense in all three spots. He also could be a very good trade chip for an Orioles team that has a bunch of other upper level guys that are ahead of him, which is kind of the interesting wrinkle in this too.
So I was going to say, Fabian probably has some prospect fatigue already because of his college prowess. It feels very, I guess, Tommy Mace-ish or maybe Dollander-ish at this point, where Dollander, like, I feel like we're already exhausted with Dollander and he hasn't even been drafted yet.
Yeah.
Fabian is probably that kind of guy too, where he's high visibility college bat. Everybody knows that he's a good pro prospect. And then you see the shortcomings in college. So that's where you worry a little bit. I'm curious how other organizations view Fabian. And yeah, I mean, kind of dovetailing off that point, like the Orioles are going to need to move outfielders. They have too many outfielders. They need starting pitching. They're going to move outfielders for starting pitching. I will swear on that this deadline.
Yeah, you should have learned by now.
Yeah,
you can't swear by anything with that team.
They need to, but
I know. I mean, Hudson Haskin too. Like Hudson, I guess he's joining.
I know.
He's joining Hudson Haskin, who's, I mean, last time I checked, is playing good ball. I think he's in a little bit of a slump of late, but I mean, yeah, he's slumping right now and has an 838 OPS. I know he's striking out, but like that's still like he's in triple now. Yeah, so that's another guy that like playing center field, 24 years old in AAA. In a slump, but like was off to a great start. That's another dude that I think could be traded. Stowers could be traded. And then how about Cesar Prieto, who just got bumped up to AA as well? So, or excuse me, to AAA. Yeah. He got bumped up to AAA. That was probably, even though they play different positions, you talk about like how it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Prieto probably cleared up that roster spot for somebody like Judd Fabian to get bumped up. Prieto, left-handed hitting infielder who, I mean, it's probably close to a 70 hit, Jack. We're talking 90% zone contact, a guy that's hitting 364 on the season. The slug has dissipated a bit as the year has gone on. It's been a lot more singles. 30 of his last 33 hits are singles. But good glove, versatile, 70 hit tool, 24 years old now, just turned 24, reaching AAA. Guy struck out 7% of the time this year. I mean, 17 Ks and 250 plate appearances, Jack.
This organization kills me. They're so good. This is so far and away the best farm system in baseball.
Yep.
And I want to walk you through the infield traffic and the outfield traffic. Let's start with the outfield. You have 3 outfield spots in a baseball game. You have a guy play left field, center field, and right field. And the Orioles have to juggle Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, Ryan McKenna, Kyle Stowers, Colton Cowser, Santander, Dylan Beavers, Fabian, like Hudson Haskett. You've got 7 guys.
Kjerstad, who we're about to get to.
Kjerstad. You've got 8 guys for 3 spots, 4 spots if you want to include the DH. Trade someone for starting pitching. On the infield, you have these guys to juggle for 3 infield spots, third base, shortstop, and second base. You got to work with Jorge Mateo, Gunnar Henderson. Let's see.
Ramon Arias.
Yep. Ramon Arias, Terran Vavra, Jordan Westberg,
Connor Norby, Joey Ortiz. Kobe Mayo Mayo's going nuts. Mayo's going nuts.
Dude, this makes my brain melt, the amount of options that they have that are ready. We're not even mentioning Jackson Holiday right here.
Yeah, right. Like, we're not mentioning a top 5 prospect in baseball who's going to fly up very quickly. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's what a fun time to be an Orioles fan right now. You got so much to look forward to, and let's see if they convert that into some pitching talent. So we'll wrap up on the Orioles with Heston Kjerstad, who, I mean, I can't get over the story of just how cool it is for him to have such a big delay to his professional debut with that myocarditis, and take some time to get his feet back under him, but the power was there. I was a little concerned about the whiff when I saw him in the fall league, but was also sure to take it with a grain of salt, given that, he was off for a while and probably took some time to feel like Heston Kjerstad again. I mean, your heart's a pretty important organ, muscle. Yeah, it's pretty important. This guy's been awesome. And now they're promoting him to AAA. He's earned it. And every fan base I know outside of Baltimore is like, oh, how can we get, of a rebuilding team, how can we get Kjerstad? Remember, the Orioles took Kjerstad number 2 overall under slot, but they took him number 2 because they loved him. And I don't know if Kjerstad's a guy they want to move. I think there's other guys that they'd prefer to move. Of course, if you're getting a Shane Bieber or whatever, maybe that's a guy you move. But making the case for what we've seen from Kjerstad here, I think the Orioles feel like they may have their next big power bat. And when you talk about the upside of all the guys in this org, I love Cowser because I think he's a little bit faster. He can play center field. He's a little bit more dynamic, but Kjerstad's offensive upside is just higher. 105 mile per hour, 90th percentile exit velocity. But what stands out to me, 83% zone contact for a guy of his size and juice, lifts the ball with force, generates a ton of carry, and the approach could get better. That's the craziest part. 35% chase rate, Jack, but he's striking out 16.5% of the time. If he gets to AAA where the strike zone's tighter and he's more patient and he ups that walk rate from 7% to 12%, his on-base percentage is 382 and he's not walking and he's an aggressive hitter. Up that walk rate, you assume the K rate drops a little bit too. He could be walking as much as he strikes out while giving you plus power, or at least plus. I think it's plus power, but translates into plus game power very easily, where the raw and game aren't always in lockstep. There's always a little bit of a drop off in game versus raw. I don't think that's the case with Kjerstad. This dude could be a left-handed masher for the Baltimore Orioles. And I have a feeling they may want to clutch onto him unless there's a very special trade package.
I'm going to put you in a tough spot. Cowser or Kjerstad, if you have to hold on to one. I know it's a really
so let's say
spot.
a team values them equally. A team says you can,
give us one of Cowser or Kjerstad.
That is hard. That is hard. I also want to point out real quick that there's people in the industry that specifically cited Cowser's struggles against left-handed pitching as a reason why he's not a top 100 guy in limited action this year. They've protected him a little bit against lefties, but in 43 plate appearances, he has 12 hits. He's a 1,000 OPS. So let's just go through it real quick. Cowser's a year younger than Kjerstad. Yep. Cowser has AAA success under his belt. Cowser can play center field. Kjerstad, I think, is more better juice in the bat to ball department, more juice, and I think has more room to gain because Cowser's chase rate is half of Kjerstad's, and he's striking out at a 23% clip.
Yeah.
There's a world where if Kjerstad's approach improves, remember how many at-bats he's missed out on.
Right.
So this is a guy that's missed out on a lot of professional at-bats. I mean, almost 600 probably. Which is crazy because I've ranked Cowser so high. So this is kind of a glimpse into where we're going to rank potentially Kjerstad in here.
This is crazy.
Man, is that a tough one.
The fact that it's a conversation is fascinating to me.
I almost want to abstain.
Yep, you can. You absolutely can. And the way that I kind of view it is Cowser has the ability to be an excellent hitter that plays center field and can play a really good corner. Kjerstad, the 100th percentile outcome of Heston Kjerstad is like all-star, one of the best hitting corner outfielders in baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for Cowser, it's like, you can dream on like a slightly diminished Josh Lowe.
Consistent fringe all-star.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really tough, but Cowser's closer.
Yeah.
So like, what if Kjerstad doesn't make those gains that I think he can make? I would lean keeping Kjerstad at this point, but man, I really love Kaiser, so it's close. But you've kind of made your point even by asking that.
Orioles system, is this the best system that you've seen in your time covering prospects? Like this Orioles
Yes.
system right now?
Yes. Absolutely.
Beginning of last year, you think the Mariners system like measures up to that, or you think this Orioles system's better?
Not with Jackson Holiday looking like Jackson the way he's looked now too. The fact that not only that it was a 1-1 pick, that he's instantly become a top 5 prospect in baseball, to me, that solidifies it because you almost forget about him with all the upper level guys.
And you've been diving into this for what now? 7 years?
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
Okay. Best system in the last 7 years, the 2023 Baltimore Orioles.
I'd say so. I'd absolutely say so. Especially you got some of the pitchers thrown well too. Chase McDermott's thrown well.
Yeah.
Seth Johnson's coming back soon. It's pretty wild. Real quick, we'll fly through some of these other guys and then hit a little bit longer on a couple of the bats that we're excited about. Daniel Palencia, you saw him. I'll just kind of leave it to you. All I'll say is in the 2 outings you saw him, you got 2 1/3 innings of 5 strikeouts, perfect, no hits, no walks, no runs.
Yeah, Cubs need a closer. Their one consistent relief arm has been Adbert Alzolay. Palencia was starting games in double. He's come up to triple and has been a reliever. Daniel Palencia is the future closer of the Chicago Cubs. Yeah. I'm willing to stamp that.
Let's stop making this guy a starter. Let this guy close. That's what he is. That's where you're going to get the most value out of him. And as a closer, he's touching triple digits routinely, instead of like occasionally. And this dude's grabbed 103 this year. So special arm, pretty low release point too.
Manny Rodriguez looks good too. Cody Hoyer is working his way back. The Cubs bullpen has not been good. The Cubs bullpen is going to get really good really quickly.
Yep. Juan Brito. I've stamped him as, I think, one of the most underrated prospects in baseball. Switch hitter in the Guardians org, came over from the Rockies in that Nolan Jones trade. Looks like a good trade for both sides. Guardians could probably use Nolan Jones right now, but they did get a really good prospect here. I think Brito is a really safe bat. Switch hitter, middle infielder, solid defender, plus hit tool, above average power potential, hits the ball in the air, walks more than he strikes out. This is a top 100 prospect to me, especially if he performs in the early going in Double-A. 21 years old, no brainer to get promoted up there. He's a guy that got promoted a little bit ago, but I still wanted to highlight him because he is really hitting well in Double-A. This is a really good prospect here in Juan Brito.
They always have young guys that perform at the upper levels. Like, I mean, we're talking about Roquillo being, stuck in triple at this point, even though I don't think he should be stuck in triple. Angel Martinez has struggled out of the gates, but Martinez looked like a guy last year that could climb really quickly. As Martinez has slowed his sprint into a jog to the big leagues, and Jose Tena has kind of slowed his jog into a walk to the big leagues, they add another guy to that middle infield traffic. So the Guardians have done it again, and they've found a young guy that's succeeding in double.
Yep. And that's what they do. And he checks all their boxes: plus hit tool, switch hitter, good approach, good instincts, plays the game well, like does all the little things well. But I think he's toolsier than most of the guys with that mold. Especially when you look at how hard he can hit the ball. Speaking of hitting the ball hard, how about Yanquiel Fernandez of the Rockies? Are the Rockies backing into a good farm system? Are we going to give them credit? Are they doing things right, or are they like just backing into this? Regardless, Yanquiel Fernandez, what a year he is having. And it doesn't even matter where he's playing. I know he's playing in Spokane, and that's a pretty hitter-friendly environment. Don't care. 108 mile per hour, 90th percentile exit velocity. This dude's hit ball is 114. I put out a clip on my Twitter. I don't know if you saw it, Jack, of an insanely awesome camera angle from High A Spokane of him blasting one. And he's a right fielder, by the way, and he's bat first. It's all about the bat. Blasting one pull side and just pimping the shit out of it. I'll send it to you if you didn't see it yet. This guy's got monster power, a good enough feel to hit. The chase rates are really high. He doesn't walk at all. He's going to be challenged in Double-A now that he has been promoted, with that approach. But man, does he hit the crap out of the ball.
I just watched it, and I texted you last night. I said, I think Yanquiel Fernandez is my new favorite player.
Yeah.
I hadn't even seen this video. I think Yanquiel Fernandez is far and away my new favorite player.
Yeah.
He's
He's
so
electric.
fun. Rocktober's here, man. I mean, it's so here. Fernandez going to double. So Yanquiel Fernandez is going to share an outfield with Veen, who's really struggling at
Really
this
struggling.
point. He's going to share a lineup with Drew Romo and Hunter Goodman, who's in double, right?
Yeah, Hunter Goodman. That Hartford Yard Goats team, I'm definitely going to try to go out and see sometime soon. And you got to figure it's only a matter of time before Adael Amador joins them.
Yep. And Bernabel is there as well. Like, dude.
It's a good team. That's a good team.
It's a fun team. It's a fun lineup. Get out there. Go to Dunkin' Donuts Park in Hartford.
Good park, too.
I've heard good park.
Big time juice, 36% chase rate. Going to need to cut down on that. But when you're striking out 19% of the time with that kind of chase rate, I'm encouraged. Like any young 20-year-old power hitting prospect, breaking balls are a little bit of an issue. He might struggle a bit. I don't care. He's 20 and double. It's going to be a fun challenge for him, and he's still going to hit homers. So it should be fun to watch. This is definitely a relevant prospect. And if he can get his way to triple, he's going to put up Nolan Jones type numbers up there.
Yep.
Gabriel Hughes, first round pick by the Rockies. We stay on the Rockies trend here. College arm that I think, everybody was excited about until he got drafted by the Rockies, and then he kind of got overlooked a little bit. He's been good this year. It's just kind of been escaping the blow-up starts. He had a blow-up start in his second career AA start where he's recently been promoted, 10 earned runs against Reading, but then bounces back and goes 5 1/3 the very next start against Reading of 3-run ball. It's really been a vast majority of his earned runs have come on 4 starts. He had one start where he gave up 7 earned runs, another start where he gave up 8 earned runs, another start where he gave up 6 earned runs, and another start where he gave up 10 earned runs. If you take, and I know you can't play it this way, but with prospects, you got to look at everything. If you take the other starts, basically the ones where he doesn't get shelled, he's got a 2.01 ERA, 6 starts. He's pitched to a 31 1/3 innings, 41 Ks, 12 walks. I think that's still important context because you have a pool of 6 starts where he's been really good, including 2 in AA. But you also had the 4 blow-up starts. College arm, good stuff. I still think this is going to be a good arm for them.
But let's be honest, that's a really bad percentage. Like if 40% of your starts at this point are blow-up starts. Now, granted, it's 10 starts. If we get to 20 starts and 8 of them are blow-ups, that's when you slam the panic button. But at this point, 10, 4, say he strings together, 7 good starts without a blow-up. If 4 of your 17 starts are blow-ups and those are accounting for a bad ERA, that's when you can start to play the if you take it out game. Yeah. I love that we're playing it at this point because I'm all for the Rockies having a good pitching prospect. But unfortunately, that's way too many blow-up starts in 10 starts.
Very talented, though. Low to mid-90s fastball, averages around 93. Slider's a plus pitch. It's been a big whiff inducer, but really just struggling with the third pitch. Ends up going fastball heavy, and that's where he gets hit, a little bit harder. But still, it's good to see him promoted. He heads up to AA, where I think he will benefit in a much more pitcher-friendly ballpark in Hartford, and maybe can have a little bit more confidence with the rest of his arsenal and attack hitters with the fastball a bit more.
Yep.
Landon Knack to AAA. This is, I think this is a move for the Dodgers to just kind of have an arm, kind of waiting. I don't know if this is much of anything other than just a shuffling, because we've seen so many arms brought up from AA, including Emmett Sheehan, including Bryce Miller, Brian Wu. We've seen several arms promoted from AA and even Owen White. So I don't know if this is necessarily a let's see if he can do it in triple thing. I think this is kind of just allocation of arms. And, Knack has been solid. I don't think he's great. I think he's fine. I think he's a swing man, depth arm, struggled in his AAA debut. I wouldn't put too much stock into the Landon Knack promotion.
Yeah, so Knack is probably, unfortunately, at the bottom of the totem pole here. When you look at Miller, Stone, Sheehan, Nastrini, Frasso, River Ryan, Maddox Bruns, Ronan Kopp, Pepio, Knack's probably under all those guys.
But he's improved. He's improved his outlook this year for sure.
For sure. But he's also 25. He was a 25-year-old.
26 in a couple weeks.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, in old 25 and double, like, you're still hoping you've got something in Knack. And I think the Dodgers, see that they might have something, whether for a short time or a couple of starts, or, maybe the rest of the year they've got something.
He's a fill-in guy for sure that I think can step up for you. And he's also a good throw-in piece in a trade. There's plenty of teams that would have an interest in Landon Knack. And I think there's teams, right now that could plug him into the rotation and see how he does and see if he can develop. He's got a decent pitch mix and, command that's improved.
Yep.
Abner Uribe of the Brewers, we talked about recently, Jack. Thank goodness he got promoted, because I want to see the data in triple, not in this Southern league, because he throws triple digits. He's disgusting. We've talked about how absurd the stuff is. The fastball slider combination is comical. He sits 100. He's up to 103 with crazy sink run and a slider that can be diabolical, but it just doesn't know where it's going. 53% K rate, or excuse me, 53% strike rate. The K rate is actually 70% on the slider, which is hilarious. So when it's within remote area of the zone, it's good luck. You're not hitting that. But he's walked 18% of batters so far since getting up to AAA Nashville. He's thrown an inning and 2/3, 1 earned run, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. It's the Abner Uribe experience. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get a ton of strikeouts. You're going to get, I would say, some antics on the mound. He's borderline crazy out there, and just fuzz. He's intimidating. He's electric. He could be a big league closer. He could never throw enough strikes. Let's find out in AAA. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm just hoping it's different than the Ricky Karcher experience in Cincinnati. Like, I'm hoping it's not like, hey, ball's leaving his hand and I have no idea where it's going. That's kind of what it is right now, but it works, and like it's working way better than it did at any level for Karcher.
I don't think there's anything in the world I'd rather do less than square for a bunt against Abner Uribe or Ricky Karcher. I think I'd rather be hit by 4 Landon Knack fastballs than just square for a bunt for 3 pitches against either of these guys, because there's a chance I die.
Yep. I may die.
I'd only drag bunt. I would only drag bunt from the left side.
Dude, I do the softball slap hitter swing, regardless of bunting or not. I would be like running out of the box when I try and hit.
I don't think there's an amount of money for me to step in there and do that. I'm not kidding. There's really not. Next up, Mike Vassell. Talked about him a bit on the pod before. I anointed Blade Tidwell before the year after I fell in love with the 4-pitch mix on the backfields that really impressed me. And Tidwell's numbers haven't been great, but I think he's looked really good. I anointed Blade Tidwell as the best pitching prospect in the Mets system. My friend at Baseball America, Jeff Ponce, responded and said Mike Vassell would like a word. And man, it was Jeff right about that. Vassell's been better, and Vassell's been good. Very good. Another guy, kind of unique release point. Ball's kind of hard to pick up out of his hand. His stuff's ticked up, and it goes in all different directions from this short arm release point. And I think it really makes it hard for hitters. Fastball is 94, and then he's got a changeup, a curve, a slider, and a cutter, all at different speeds. It's just unique how he's able to attack hitters. And all of the pitches have been very solid. I'd say the worst pitch for him has been the slider, which he tends to hang, but still when he locates it, it's a really solid pitch. This is a fun arm. I don't think anything jumps off the page, but stuff ticks up. I've got 4 big league pitches I can come at you with from a decent release point. Vassell's going to be a big league arm. I think he's going to be a solid big league 4, potential to be a 3 when his stuff is working all off itself.
So my worry here is the big ball. That's the only thing that is somewhat concerning here. And you see a 4.5 and 11 starts and a sub-1 whip. You're like, okay, where's the disconnect here? Because if the whip is under 1, you expect the ERA to be a lot lower. And the answer is the long ball. 9 homers in 54 innings is a tough eat for this guy. If he can keep the ball in the ballpark, like I think he's proven that he's like that classic Virginia pitchability guy.
Yeah, and AAA will be a great test. I should say he's getting the bump to triple. But I love that he doesn't walk guys. So if the long ball is going to burn you, let that be your Achilles heel. Yep. And if you can, be decent with keeping the ball in the yard, he'll be in good shape. I think it's almost a matter of being around the strike zone too much. When you see a 4.7 walk rate, you see a 56% in zone rate. So he's just in the strike zone a lot. And on the fastball, he's in the zone around 61% of the time. On his slider, he's in the zone 63% of the time. It's not surprising to me that the vast majority of the extra base hits that he's giving up are on that fastball and slider, where he's probably just missing over the middle a bit too much. 23 years old now, reaching AAA. This is an arm that, if all goes wrong for the Mets, he could plug in. First AAA start was not a good one, but you also mentioned long ball is an issue. Where does he go to make his first big league start? Buffalo, where the ball flies. So it was a challenge for him there. I think it'll take some time. I don't know if he's an option for them this year. I think if he's an emergency option, that's fine. I think next year he could start the season in the rotation, though, and be a solid depth arm, like number 4 or 5 starter.
This is kind of an emergency right now for the New York Mets. Like, whatever they're running out in the 4-5 spot right now, like Vassal's comparable probably.
It's not far off. If he can string together a couple good AAA starts, probably wouldn't be crazy. We got Gabe Rincones. Yep. Rincones has been interesting. He gets the promotion to high A for what that would send him to. That would be Jersey Shore.
Clearwater to Jersey Shore. Yeah, the Phillies and Rangers are the ones that kind of get me.
Yeah. What, the Philly system?
Like the affiliates, like it's Clearwater, Jersey Shore, Reading, and then
I don't know what it is. I don't know if they've shuffled more like those affiliates in recent. For whatever reason, I draw a blank on Jersey Shore. But Rincones goes to high A, solid prospects. Fascinating to a degree. He's off to a pretty good start in high A. 22 years old. He hits the ball really hard, and I think that's the thing you got to look at. 107 mile per hour, 90th percentile exit velocity is pretty absurd. Just on the ground way too much. And I think that's holding back the power, but good approach. And there's some whiff in there. This is definitely one of the higher upside bats I think they have, though, in that system, which isn't saying a lot. But I do think that this is someone to monitor in the Philly system, because there's just not that many dudes that are hitting the ball that hard and, have that projectable frame at 6'3", 220. He's filled out, but I still think he's got a little bit more room. He's 22, 3rd round pick in 2022. I think this is somebody that, has some upside to watch, but, could have an acclimation process in high A.
Yeah. I don't know much about him. I just saw that he got the bump here, and intriguing. The college numbers are intriguing, but yeah, I'll take your word.
Yeah. Another guy that we don't have a ton on, but I think it's worth monitoring and noting his promotion. Michael Arroyo up from the complex to low A. What did he sign for, Jack? I don't know if you can pull it up on Pipeline. I think Arroyo signed for $4.1 million. I might be getting him confused with Celestin, though. Arroyo might have been a $1 million guy.
You are. He was a 1.38, Michael.
Okay.
Arroyo.
What was Celestin?
Celestin, 4.7. Congratulations.
Okay, he got big money. So Arroyo, but $1 million for an international free agent, you are a very relevant prospect. And I think he definitely turned a lot of heads right out of the gate. I will say the Mariners do a good job in international free agency. When the Mariners spend more than $1 million, I lock in a little bit more than maybe some other teams. If the Nationals spend $1 million, yawn. Let me know when he's putting up numbers in high A.
And tuna.
I'm good. Arroyo's got a really good swing, and I'm working on the Mariners system right now. It should be done later this week, and that'll be probably one of our episodes this week, so I won't go too deep into it. Arroyo looks good so far, though. I think very advanced hitter for his age. Not as much projection as a 5'8", hitter, but I love the bat to ball skills, and he hits the ball hard for his frame. So there's a lot to like here, and we'll dive deeper when we get into the Mariners system. Cool. Carson Whisenhunt. This guy screams a Jack favorite to me, because lefty gets outs. I really like the changeup. I mean, everybody likes a changeup. Why should I make that about me? Changeup is phenomenal. If you don't like the changeup, you're a weirdo, because it has just been insane to watch. It's a 70 change. He was what did they go? Was it compensation round for Whisenhunt or second round for Whisenhunt?
I think it was full-blown second round.
Full-blown second round for Whisenhunt for the Giants. He gets the bump to double. Much needed college arm. Yeah, he didn't pitch a lot because there was some, some concerns with a failed drug test. That ended up being
it was a supplement that you can get at
yeah.
GNC.
Is that we're buying that one though? Because I've heard that one before. But like,
yes, I've heard of guys getting suspended for Celsius. Like the NCAA is kind of a joke with that stuff.
I'm gonna give Wiz and Hunt 100% the benefit of the doubt there. Guy, has looked good overall. I think he's really just kind of picked apart high A hitters with the fastball changeup. I'm curious to see how he's challenged in Double A. I think he could still pick apart a lot of Double A hitters with the fastball changeup. But in the days where the changeup is not landing for a strike 73% of the time, how does Wiz and Hunt look? And that's what I'm interested to see, because the fastball is good, not great. I think it's a 50, 55. Curveball is bad at this point. It's just not a good pitch. 46% strike rate. It just hangs a lot. When he locates it, you can see it flash above average, but it's just not there right now. Fastball changeup is really good though. So I'm interested to see how he gets acclimated to Double A. If the curveball continues to get better and the fastball is, commanded well east-west, it's a good 3-pitch mix, changeup dependent, that I think, you could see that like Pablo Lopez type mold, but a lefty. That's a fun pitcher. Obviously he's got some ways to go in the command department, but Double A is going to be a great test. I love the timing of the promotion here. Build that confidence, get that changeup rolling. Now let's test him.
Yep. I found Wiz and Hunt's statement, and I saw the farm director of the Giants kind of defended it. They said, we fully believe Wiz and Hunt's story. This is Carson Wiz and Hunt's statement that he released when, this happened ahead of the 2022 season. Dear Pirate Nation, he was an ECU guy. Over winter break, I took supplements I purchased at a nationwide nutrition store, which resulted in a positive test. Unfortunately, under NCAA rules, I'm not allowed to participate in the 2022 college baseball season. I'm disappointed I won't be able to play this season and sincerely apologize to my teammates, coaches, family, friends, and fans. That's tough. That's a shitty pinch, man. And I understand that, hey, the documents are there, but dude, how are you expecting to get popped for something you can find at GNC?
100%. And it's the NCAA. So you expect them to run things properly there. I think this will be the last time we talk about the suspension before turning the page and focusing on Carson Wiz and Hunt, the pitching prospect. But I think it's an important context because he would have been a first round pick.
Yeah.
So from that lens, he would have 100% been a first round pick. And you get him in the second round. He looks good. If he was looking this good as a first round pick, would there be a little bit more hype around him? Probably. So I think it's worth noting, hey, he got screwed a little bit. He's making up for lost time now, but it's also important to note that he didn't pitch in a big year. I know it's not the minor leagues, but he didn't get to throw a full season there where he could have got a better feel for the curveball. He could have got a little bit of a better feel for his east-west command of the fastball. Changeup was already there. So that's a wrinkle of it too. He lost out on some innings to develop. Arms fresher, but that matters.
He lost out on 100 innings, maybe more. Skeens has thrown 110 right now. I'm not saying Wiz and Hunt was going to be Skeens, but I'm saying he probably would have thrown over 100 innings.
They would have rode him, baby, and they were good. He could have taken ECU to the promised land.
They rode Gavin Williams the year before. That's what ECU does. They ride studs that are really good big league arms, man. So Wiz and Hunt had the Gavin Williams cut of the cloth, and that changeup is awesome. But the only appearances that he made at the amateur level in 2022 were 4 starts in Chatham out on the Cape. So Wiz and Hunt, I'm glad that this is the last time we talk about it, but we're putting it to bed. Obviously, I don't want to give PED guys the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to ding guys that test positive for performance-enhancing drugs. But the reason I think it's important to bring this up is, this is not your typical PED suspension. This is not a testosterone booster. This is
there's a lot of context to it, too. Before we move on to the last 2 players, and Brady House and Jake Bennett, I feel like when we're on the outside, you don't really totally know what's going on and all of those things. And, I can think of a perfect example of my good friend Griffin Conine, first professional season. He's in Vancouver, and the guys on the team are really excited about being in pro baseball and going out in Vancouver and having fun. It's short season ball, and they were sometimes tired the next day, and guys would take Adderall or Vyvanse or Ritalin, and I don't think they really understood the ramifications of it if you test positive.
Yeah.
Griff took a Ritalin and tested positive a couple days later because they got a random test. Is Griffin Conine a PED guy? I can tell you unequivocally, that's one of my best friends. He plays the game right. He's and it sucked for him because he's a power guy. So people are like, "Oh," I'm like, "Dude, it was
no, he takes
it was an
great care of his
amphetamine."
body.
Yeah, and never takes it now. And you can get an exemption for it. If you don't, they ding you for it. It happens. It's happened in the big leagues. But is that a guy that cheats? Is that a guy that does anything the wrong way? No. But that's going to hang over his head. Oh, remember he got suspended. So I'll give guys the benefit of the doubt, especially through the minor leagues on that kind of stuff, especially when it's not like, oh, he was taking SARMs and was like muscled up and had a massive power uptick.
Right.
Like,
We're taking
if a guy takes the wrong
boosters.
thing, if he takes the wrong thing and makes a mistake, they're young, they're kids. Like it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't define them as people. And I can speak to that as a close situation to myself there, with one of the best people I know in Griff. So let's wrap it up with two guys, Brady House and Jake Bennett. Jake Bennett, I saw pitch and honestly fell in love with the pitch ability. We'll wrap with him. But Brady House, I've always been lower on Brady House, and I think that he is really, I don't want to say proving me wrong, because like I'd never said he wasn't going to like be great or be good, but I was definitely more concerned about him than some of the other high school draft picks. And I think that he is kind of been better than that's the best way I could put it, has been better than I would have expected. And I don't like making the player's performance about myself, but I also want to be able to hold myself accountable when I talk about a guy that, I said, "Oh, I'm concerned about him." And then I'm just going to pretend I never said that when they get promoted and play well. Brady House is playing really good baseball, and I didn't think he'd play very good baseball to start the year. I thought it would be a slower burn.
But it's also a 20-year-old in his third year of pro ball at low A. So, it's time that he got the bump up, right?
I saw him on the same day I saw Jake Bennett. And when I saw him, it's a little stiff to me. I think the moves are a little rough around the edges. There's guys that can hit with moves that are rough around the edges. And maybe he can be one of those guys. I think that the extraneous movements and just kind of, it's that loud. I just don't think it's smooth. And I think it causes him to have to make decisions a bit earlier. He cheats a little bit. 45% chase rate on the fastball kind of backs that up. And that was my concern. What I will say is he's getting into his game power way better. His feel to hit is way better. And he's hitting the ball real damn hard. 106 mile per hour, 90th percentile exit velocity. He's cut the K rate. He's walking a little bit. But I'm going to need to see some smoother moves, I think. I'm going to need to see a little bit less stiffness in the box. But that said, he's getting into his game power more. The bat to ball skills are better. And I think he's improving his outlook as a player. Just turned 20. High A is going to be a good challenge for him.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Wrap with Bennett.
Jake Bennett. I love what I saw, dude. Get into the numbers. Like what stands out to you with Bennett? I'll tell you just kind of the scouting report and what I saw and what I liked.
Yeah, so 9 starts for Bennett in low A. He's now made 2 starts in high A with Wilmington. Jake Bennett, college arm, 2nd-round pick out of Oklahoma last year. So he was an older guy for low A. That was probably a conservative assignment for the Nats off the top. But Bennett's been awesome, man. You combine 2 starts that are 9 innings of 1-run ball in high A with his numbers in low A. 11 starts, 51 innings. He's got a 1.76 ERA. That's 10 earned runs in 51 innings. He's punching out 11.5 per 9. He's walking under 2 per 9. So dude, Bennett's been really good statistically.
Such a good feel to pitch. Fastball is 90 to 92. I'll grab a 3 and maybe touch a 4. But change up, phenomenal feel for it. So that really helps. Slider, good feel for it. Curveball, good feel for it. So he's throwing 4 pitches for a strike, spotting the changeup, and just mixing really well, sequencing. Nothing jumps off the page. I think it's like 50s across the board with his pitches and 50 command. That's a big league back end starter. And I think that he's going to climb quickly. I was a conservative assignment. I think they wanted to stretch him out. I don't necessarily know why they were conservative with it. Maybe wanted him to work on some of the secondaries and not be as much in fight or flight mode because, for Jake Bennett to be successful, he needs all 4 pitches. And so I think if he got sent straight to high A, he might have leaned a little bit more fastball changeup to try to get better hitters out. Now he's got a feel for all 4. Now he's getting, hitters out. And I think the strikeouts might dip, but He's not nibbling in high A, and I think he'll be in double by season's end. He's very polished. Should be a big league arm for them.
Yeah, and by no means is this like great start. Hey, is he a top 100 guy thing? Because he's not. Like he probably doesn't have the pitches. He doesn't have the ability of a top 100 arm, but he's got the ability of a big league 5
and a really good, solid top 10 arm in a system, a top 10 prospect in a system to have that you like.
It's very Will Warren, right?
Yeah, I would say like lefty half notch down from Will Warren, which is great. That's great. Yeah. I agree. I think it's very Will Warren. All right, that'll do it. I think next episode will be Mariners. We'll try to squeeze in maybe one more on some trends in the minor leagues that I want to dive into, and tie that in with a talk about some big decisions we're making with this top 100 list. Perfect. Jack, any final thoughts as we wrap up this first episode of the week?
I don't think so. Yanquiel Fernandez, my favorite player in baseball.
Love it, man. All right, we're going to go record the Just Baseball show. Those of you that enjoy this, go check that out as well. Justbaseball.com, plenty of prospect content there. A lot of draft stuff as we get closer and closer. We'll be keeping you briefed on the draft as well over here. We'll be talking college baseball prospects as well that we've been watching in this College World Series. That'll probably be built into one of these episodes as well. And keep an eye out. We'll probably do a mailbag in the next week or so. Also, those are always fun. I'll be writing up a lot more articles in the next week or so on justbaseball.com. So keep your eyes peeled there. As always, thank you for listening. Look forward to talking prospects with you later this week.